All right. Hello, Columbia Middle School and High School. This is Mrs. Santoro. I'm going to tell you about 5 books today for the Book Bloom on May 26th. That's this Thursday at 6 o'clock. The talent show will be at 7. You come on in through the cafeteria doors. You bring a used book. That's your ticket in the door. You bring a parent, and you will get tickets for both of you. They can bring a used book as well. And then you take those tickets and you use them to go into the book swap, where you can swap out the other used books that people have brought, get something you haven't read. And then you come on through, and we have 23 selections of brand new books, over 450 books to give away. And that way you go home with 4 new books for the summer. That's a lot of books, huh?
That's my age.
That's your age. Yes, very good. This
I'm
is Phoebe.
tell him.
You tell them. Okay.
I'm 4 years old and I'm Phoebe. Hi.
Okay, so this is Phoebe. She's going to help me out today. Can you help me out? All right. The first book that I want to tell you about, can you hold this up?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a shout out to Mrs. Brown in the 7th grade.
Hi, guys.
Hi, guys. This is by William Ritter, and this is called Jacoby. Now, besides the fact that I think the cover is absolutely brilliant and beautiful, this is the story about a girl named Abigail who ends up in a town where there's a serial killer, and she decides that she's going to solve the mystery. Critics are saying that this is Sherlock Holmes meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer, hence why I thought of you, Mrs. Brown. The book is absolutely wonderful. Okay, now you can't be silly. You got to go sit here.
No.
Yeah.
No.
The next book I want to tell you about is called Looking for Alaska. This is by John Green. Those of you who recognize the name should know him from The Fault in Our Stars. That's probably his most popular book, although most critics, and I would add myself to this list, agree that Looking for Alaska is probably his best book. This was written before The Fault in Our Stars. This is the story of a kid named Miles who goes by the nickname Pudge, and you can imagine then what Miles looks like. And Miles is everything that ordinary is in your mind, and in his own as well, until he goes to a boarding school and he meets Alaska, and she's everything that he isn't. She's the antithesis of him. She's brilliant, and she's witty, and she's smart-mouthed, and she's inappropriate, and she's weird, and she's funny, and she's spontaneous, and he's obsessed with her. He's in love with her, and she opens up this world for him that he never knew imagined. And then all of a sudden she's gone, and he decides he has to go looking for her. So this is called Looking for Alaska. The next book I want to tell you about, this is by David Levitan. This is called Two Boys Kissing. Students who have had me in class know that 2 of his books that I highly recommend are Every Day and The Lover's Dictionary. He often writes from an LGBTQ perspective, and this is certainly no exception to that. He's one of the most beautiful writers, I think, that we have in young adult literature right now. And I wanted to read you just a section of this. It says, "The first sentence of the truth is always the hardest. Each of us had a first sentence, and most of us found the strength to say it out loud to someone who deserved to hear it." Hello? Hello?
Oh.
Can you turn off the thanks? What we hoped and what we found was that the second sentence of the truth is always easier than the first, and the third sentence is even easier than that. Suddenly you are speaking the truth in paragraphs and in pages. The fear, the nervousness is still there, but it is joined by a new confidence. All along, you've used the first sentence as a lock, but now you find that it's the key. "I was born a boy in a girl's body," Avery begins, and then he stops, takes in Ryan's reaction, which is surprise. His eyes widen a little, then narrow as he takes a long look at Avery, figures it out. Avery feels like a body on display. Ryan leans toward Avery, the boat rocking back and forth as he does. Avery grips the side, and Ryan puts his hand on top of Avery's. "Tell me whatever you want to tell me," he says. I didn't think that I would like this book as much as I did. I just think it's beautiful from the beginning to the end. I will say that I think the content is more geared towards high school students because of the language and some of the situations in it. But if you are a 7th and 8th grade student and your parent is with you and they say that it's okay for you to take this book, this is also up for grabs for you too. This is called Two Boys Kissing by David Levitan. The next one I want to tell you about, this was a book choice this year for the CHS Book Club. This is called The Program by Suzanne Young. It is the first in a trilogy. The second one is called The Treatment, and the last one is called The Remedy. This is, if you like that kind of sci-fi, post-apocalyptic society, you will absolutely love this. This is centers first around Sloane and James, who live in a society where teen suicide has become such an epidemic that the government has decided to intervene. And the way they've intervened is that if they see any teenager who goes outside of the spectrum of what they deem to be like mildly emotional, they put you on what they call the program, where they erase your memories and they erase your emotions, and you leave not knowing who you even were before the time you were there. This is a story of what Sloane and James do when they decide that they're going to do everything they possibly can to fight the program. This is awesome. So good. Last book I want to tell you about. All right, get off my hair for a minute, please. Last book I want to tell you about. This is called Throne of Glass by Sarah Maas. This is part of a series. The Assassins, I think it's Assassin's Blade, Crown of Midnight. There's a whole bunch of them now that are out. So this is just the first in a series. You will be so glad that the whole series is out because these are awesome. If you like fantasy novels, can you stop eating? If you like fantasy novels, this to me is like Game of Thrones meets Divergent meets Hunger Games meets Harry Potter. It's like all of the greatest parts of those mixed together. And it's for guys or girls. There's a whole bunch of different characters. It starts with Celaena Sardothien, but it goes from there. She's a female assassin, and she's kind of tasked to go into this kingdom and watch over the king, but she's also part of this competition to see who will be the king's assassin, who will be like the right-hand man, so to speak, of the king. Celaena doesn't want this, but she also knows that if she doesn't take it, she dies. And the characters that she meets along the way are so interesting and brilliant. You will love this novel. It is so good. It's called Throne of Glass by Sarah Maas. Those are the 5 books I want to tell you about today. I will be back tomorrow to tell you about 5 more. Book Bloom Talent Show, May 26th, this Thursday, 6 o'clock. See you then.